Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Babel on Talmud. Today, we are studying Daf Kuf Lamed Tes of Masechta Shabbis, Daf 139. It's a cool Daf today. We start off with some agaritas about what happens when you have corrupt court systems. Okay, what do you think? Good? Bad? Well, I guess we'll find out. Then there were these letters that the people of a place called Bashkar sent to Levi regarding 3 areas of halacha. We're going to explore that. We talked about, was it yesterday, Epis, about making strainers, or at the beginning of the parak, so it was, I guess, 2 days ago, about making strainers. So we say you can't make a strainer for wine on Yom Tiv, but what if you make it for pomegranates? We're going to look into that. And, okay, other sneaky kind of little things that we can do. And then we get to a new mission at the end. Friends, let's jump in. Daf Kuf Lamed Tes, on the second line of the page. Tanya, Rabbi Yossi ben Elisha Omer, says Rabbi Yossi ben Elisha, Imra Isa Dor, Shetzaros Rabos Bohos Olav, if you see a generation that many difficult things are happening to it, say Uvdok B'dayone Yisrael, go and take a look at the Jewish judges. Shakol Puranus Sheba Leolam, because every bad thing that happens to the world, Lo Ba'a Ella B'shvil Dayane Yisrael. It comes on account of Jewish judges. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Shimun Azos Rosh Beis Yaakov. Listen to this, the heads of the house of Jacob. Uktzine Beis Yisrael, and the officers of the house of Israel. Hamasav and Mishpat, that they make judgment very disgraceful. Ve'eskol ha'ishara ya'akeshu, and everything's straight, they make crooked. Bonetzion b'damim, they construct the houses of Zion with blood. V'Yushalayim be'avla, and Jerusalem with corruption. Rosheh b'shochad yishpotu, its heads judge with bribery. V'choanea, and the priests, b'mechir yoru, they give decisions of halacha based on whatever you pay them. If you pay them to give you a certain decision, you'll get it. Unvi'eh b'kesef yiksomu, and the prophets, you pay them, and they'll prophesy whatever you want to hear. V'al Hashem yishanu v'gomer, and they nonetheless rely on God and say, oh yeah, well, it's okay, God's going to take care of us. Well, guess what? God is not going to take care of us if you're being corrupt, friends. Rishayim hein, they are evildoers, yet they were hanging their faith, their trust in He who said, and the world was created. Lefichach, therefore, Mevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu Alein Gimel Puranios, therefore God brings upon them 3 punishments, Keneged Gimel Averos, in parallel to the 3 Averos that they did, right? One was that the judges were accepting bribery, the other one was that the Kohanim were accepting payment in exchange for halachic decisions, and the prophets were accepting payment in exchange for positive prophecy. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Lachin b'glalchem, therefore on account of you, Tzion Sada Techaresh, Zion will be like a plowed field. V'Yushalayim Iyin Tihiyeh, and Jerusalem will be just piles of stones. V'Arbayis Levamos Yar, and the mountain of the Beis HaMikdash will just be like a chopped down forest with a bunch of stumps of stones over there. Wow. Okay. Fine. And the Eibishter will not rest His divine presence on Israel until the judges, the evil judges and evil enforcers are removed from Israel. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, V'ashiva yadi alayich, that I will return my hand upon you, V'etzrof kabor sigayich, and I will kind of like purify, like what was bor? Bor was I don't remember if it was sulfur, but you get rid of your stains. Basically, like I'll take like soap, and like kind of if you have stains in your clothing, you take some kind of a soap and you remove the stain. Well, remove your judges. Vasir kol b'dilayich, and like also when it comes to metals, I guess you make it real hot and remove any impurities. Well, these judges are impurities, and I will remove them. Vashiva shovtaich k'varishona, and I will return your judges as they were originally. V'atzaich k'vatchila v'gomer, and your advisors as they were originally. Amar Ula, said Ula, ein, so it says here in Yerushalayim, but there's a gears that changed it to in Yisrael, which technically I think reads a little better. So Amar Ula, in Yisrael nifda ela b'tzedakah. So Ula said that Israel is going to be redeemed with tzedakah. I don't know if it's charity or righteousness. Amar Rav Papa, Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Tzion b'mishpat tipade v'shaveh b'tzedakah, that Zion will be redeemed with mishpat, with fair judgment, v'shaveh b'tzedakah, and those who return to it, i.e. the Yidden, will be redeemed with tzedakah. Amar Rav Papa, ibatle yihire, batle amgushe, batle dayane, batle gzir pate. Okay, it says Rav Papa. So I'm going to repeat that. Ibatle yehire. So these yehire, Rashi says, are people who like walk around with long hair. But as I said the other day, that's just because of Corona. You can't hold it against me. But they're trying to, dress like Persians and stuff like that. Batle amagushe. Well then. So basically, if you get rid of these chevra with like fancy hair and fancy clothing and trying to like dress like Persians, well then the people who are contesting the Torah and giving you a hard time, well, they're also going to go away. Okay? Ibadle dayane, badle gzir pate. And if you get rid of like evil, corrupt judges, well then these chevra from the king that want to harm you, they're going to go away as well. Okay? Ibadle yihir, ibadle amgushe, dichsiv va'etzov kabor sigayich. Okay, how do we know this? Because so we say that if the haughty people go away, these people that like dress fancy and stuff, well then these people who give us a hard time with the Torah, so they'll also go away and challenge us. They'll go away. It says the pasuk says ve'etzov kabor sigayich, that I will. So sigayich is like people who have like a haughtiness, and it says that I will basically clean away all your stains, all these haughty people. And the pasuk then continues, says v'asir kol b'dilayich, and also I remove all your impurities. And those are the people, as Rashi says in the Rashi sigayich, towards the end, elu aminin hamavdilim soni Yisrael min HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that these b'dilayich, these are the minim, these early Christians who would separate the Yidden from the Eibishter. Ibadli dayan, ibadli gzir pate, and if we get rid of the evil, corrupt judges, well then these sort of enforcers of the king will give us a hard time, will go away as well. The Chesiv, as the pasuk says, Heisir Hashem mishpatayich pnei oivech, that God has removed mishpatayich, so referring to these evil judges, pnei oivech, and your enemies have gone away. Am Rabbi Malai mishum Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. Says Rabbi Malai in the name of Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, Mai dichsev shava Hashem mate rishayim shevet moshlim. What does it mean that the Eibishter broke the staff of the evildoers, the staff of rulers? Shevet Hashem, shava Hashem mate rishayim. When it says that God has broken the staff of the evildoers, Elu adayanin shenaisu makil chazaneim. These are the judges that have become tools to their representatives of the of the courts. Meaning, you have these people who work at the courts and they summon people to courts and they also enforce the rule of court. Now, if the judges just become tools for these people, and these people ask for raises and salary and everything like that, and the judges are unable to be sort of just let's say fair or to stand up to these people, and if they're just taking a complete tool of these other people who work at the court, well then they're essentially going to be malleable and not going to be effective judges. Shevet Moshlim Elu Talmidei Chachamim Shev Mishpachos Hadayanin. And when it refers to the staff of the rulers, Well, then these are the Talmidei Chachamim that are in the families of these corrupt judges, right? So you have corrupt judges, but in their families are big Talmidei Chachamim. And the Talmidei Chachamim then become tools of these judges, and they're like defending them and things like that. And it becomes a whole big corruption scene. Mar Zutra, Amar Elu Talmidei Chachamim Shemlamdim Hilchos Tzibur L'Dayanei Bor. And Mar Zutra said that the problem being identified in this pasuk is Talmidei Chachamim who are teaching halachas, Hilchos Tzibor, basically public law, to foolish judges, to inept judges, right? Meaning there's like these 3-week judge crash courses that, just come to this crash course for 3 weeks and you'll be able to be a judge. Well, no, you won't, and that'll be a problem. Amar Beliezer ben Mala'e Mishum Reish Lakish Mai Dichsev Ki Kapechem Nigoalu Badam Vetzbosechem Ba'avon Sifsosechem Dar Bushekel Lashonechem Avla Sege. So what does it mean that your hands are disgusting with blood, your fingers with sin, your lips speak lies, and your tongues speak crookedness? Ki kapechem nego'alu badam, that your hands are disgusting with blood. Elu adayanim, these are the judges. Vetzbosechem be'avon, and your fingertips in sin. Elu sofri adayanim, these are the scribes of dayanim. Sifsosechem da busheker, your lips speak lies. Elu orchei adayanim, these are the lawyers. As Rashi says, interestingly, he says orchei adayanim melamdin is by ledin and liton, that they teach the litigants to what to say. I don't know, it's interesting that I don't know too much about lawyers, I guess, but my understanding is that nowadays lawyers kind of do the entire thing, meaning a client will pay a lawyer to represent them. The lawyer will say everything in court, whereas it sounds like, I guess, at that point, that wasn't necessarily the way that they did it. Rather, the lawyers would just kind of coach the litigants, and the litigants would represent themselves. I don't know if that's the case. It's like interesting to think about it as like a progression from once upon a time until today. Like, I guess at the purest form of things, you would have Reuven and Shimon. They got into a shtickle situation, so they went to court. Reuven would represent himself, Shimon would represent himself. Then I guess maybe they realized that if they got some professional assistance, they'd probably be more effective in court. So I guess they started to have people coach them to make them be able to represent themselves better. And then I guess at a certain point, then it sort of became like, well, heck, why don't you just do everything for me and I'll just pay you? And that would probably be the most effective way. So I don't know, maybe like that Rashi is kind of expressing this kind of middle stage where you would have the role of the lawyer wasn't necessarily to do everything in court, but more to coach the litigant to be able to represent himself more effectively. I don't know, maybe. And then it says, L'shonchem av l'sege, that your tongues speak crookedness. Elu ba'ledinin, these are the litigants themselves. V'amar Rab Malai mishum Rab Yitzchak migadla'a. Who are these people? It says Rab Malai in the name of Yitzchak migadla'a. These aren't like the names that you see too often. Miyom sheperish Yosef me'echav l'tam tam yayin. Interesting. That from the days that Joseph left his brothers when he was 17 years old, until they regrouped when he was 39 years old. So lotam tam yain, for 22 years he didn't taste wine. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, l'kod kod nizir echav, to the, what's the kod? To like the head of the nazir of his brothers. So therefore he learns from nazir echav, that's in the brachos of Yosef in Parshas Vayechi. So I believe it's, or is it Vayechi or is it V'zoi Sabrache? Yeah, Vayechi. So, so he didn't drink wine for 22 years. Rabbi Yossi Bab Chanina Amar, said Rabbi Yossi Bab Chanina, Af hein lo ta'amu tam yain. Even they didn't taste any wine for all those 20 years. All the brothers. Dichsev vayishtu vayishkru imo. Mechlal dara idna lo. As the pasuk says, when the brothers were reconnected to Yosef, so it says that they drank and they got drunk together. So we see that they also didn't drink until then. V'idach, now according to the first opinion, that it was only Yosef who didn't drink that entire time, but the brothers did. Shichvur sudilo hava shtia mia hava. So he would argue, well, they hadn't gotten drunk during those entire 22 years, but they did drink a little bit, maybe Kiddush on Friday night, who knows. V'amar Rabbi Malai b'schai v'roacha v'samach b'libo zachar l'choshen hamishpat al libo. And Rabbi Malai says that as a reward by Aaron HaKohen, it says that by Aaron, when he met Moshe after the burning bush, God tells Moshe that Aaron will see you and he will be happy in his heart. So in the reward for being happy in his heart, even though he knows that his younger brother is really getting all the nevuah and the more prominent role, but nonetheless Aaron was very happy to see him. So as a reward for that, Aaron merited to get the choshen of the Kohen Gadol on his heart. Shalchu le b'nei Bashkar leLevi. So the people of the place called Bashkar, they sent to Levi, Kila mau kshus b'charma mau meis b'yom tiv mau. Okay, so these people of Bashkar, they sent a letter to Levi, and they wanted to know, what about a kila, a canopy? Can you set up a canopy for your bed on, or even just to rest under, on Shabbos? Kshus b'charma mau. What about to plant hops in a vineyard? Is that an issue of kilei akerim, of kilayim in your vineyard, of mixing different species in your vineyard? Meis b'yom tiv ma'u. And what about if you have somebody who passes away and it's yom tiv, can you bury this person? So ad azil nach nafshe de Levi. And interestingly, by the time this letter arrived, Levi had passed away. Interesting lemaisa, because we learned in Brachis and Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis the story when Shmuel went to the cemetery to get the money from his father of the orphans, and Levi was in the cemetery and they didn't accept him into the Heavenly Academy. Well, I guess it was probably soon after this letter was sent. Amr Shmuel Rav Menashe. Now Shmuel instructed, so Shmuel, who was somehow associated with Levi, either a student of Levi or just sort of the next generation, right? Because not often, but sometimes you'll see Avod de Shmuel v'Levi, that, right? The father, Shmuel's father and Levi were kind of connected. So, anyways, Levi. So Shmuel was kind of around, sort of the next generation after Levi. Anyways, so after Levi passed away, so Shmuel instructed to Rav Menashe, "Ichakimas shlachlu." Look, if you think that you're smart enough to be able to answer these questions, maybe you can answer them. So shalachlu. So Rav Menashe responded to these people of Bashkar, and he said to them, Kila, that when it comes to constructing a canopy on Shabbos, Chazarnu al kol tzidei kila v'lo matzinu la tzad heter. He said, look, we have researched this question from every possible angle and perspective, and we have been unable to find any reason to say that it should be permitted to construct this canopy on Shabbos. Sorry, people. 1 second. What do you mean that you checked every which angle and could not find a reason to say that you can create a canopy on Shabbos? What about Rabbi Bar Yechezkel? Rabbi Bar Yechezkel said, as long as before Shabbos the covering was rolled up, you can unroll it. What do you mean that there's no possible way to say that it's permitted? The my answer is, well, because over there in Bashkar they weren't big, they weren't very learned people, and he was concerned that if he would allow them to construct this, I don't know if I said Kilas Chasanim. I hope not, because that's not what I'm talking about. But no, Kilas Chasanim was when there was like that pointed roof. No, this is talking about when there's like the four legs. Rabbi Bar Yechezkel says that as long as it's rolled up before Shabbos, you can unroll it, but Rabbi Menashe was concerned that if he would allow that, then they might end up also constructing the canopy even when it is not in a permitted way, like Rabbi Bar Yechezkel allows. Kshusa b'charma irbuva. And in terms of planting hops in a vineyard, he said you can't do it, it's kilayim. Why did Rabbi Menashe say that it's kilayim? Why shouldn't he have sent to the people of Bashkar? Like Rabbi Tarfon says, Desanya, as we learn in Abasha, Kishus, when it comes to hops, Rabbi Tarfon Omer, Ein kilayim b'kerem. Rabbi Tarfon says that when it comes to hops, there's no kilayim, there's no kilei akerim when it comes to hops. Now the shaila is, when it comes to kilei akerim, you cannot plant vegetables, irakos, right together with the grapevines. Now if it's considered an eitz, if it's considered a tree, so then you can plant it in the vineyard. So the question is, are these hops considered like yirakot, like vegetables, or do we consider it like the tree that they grew on? So Rav Menashe sent back to these people that it's considered like the tree, it's considered like the vegetables, and it's not going to be allowed. So v'chachamim omrim kilayim b'kerem. So Rav Menashe said it's not allowed. The question is, why did he say that it's not allowed? Because after all, there is the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon who says ein kilayim b'kerem, right? There's the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon who says that these hops in the vineyard would not constitute kilayim b'kerem. The chachamim omrim kilayim b'kerem. The chachamim say that it would be considered kilayim b'kerem not to do it, and therefore you shouldn't plant them together. V'kaimelan, yet we also know, as we learned in Masechta Brachos, kol hamekel ba'aretz halacha k'mos b'chutz la'aretz, that when it comes to mitzvahs atluyos ba'aretz, when it comes to these mitzvahs, these agricultural laws, from that these agricultural laws, so we learned it in Brachos in the context of Orla. Now we're learning it in the context of Kilayim, that that the more lenient opinion, we don't paskin like that in Eretz Yisrael, but we do paskin like that in Chutz La'aretz, and therefore, when we have this machlokes between the Chacham and Rabbi Tarfon is more lenient in saying that you would be allowed to plant hops together with grapevines. Well, in Chutz La'aretz, which is where Bashkar was, they should be allowed to plant hops in vineyards. So the Gemara answers L'fishein b'nei Torah. Yeah, but Rav Menashe was concerned because these people weren't very familiar, learned in Torah. He was concerned that if you allow them to plant hops in the vineyard, they might plant other things in the vineyard. Okay. Machris Rav announced, Haiman debay lemizra kshusa b'charma lizra. If somebody wants to plant hops in his vineyard, and of course Rav was in Chutz La'aretz, he was in Bavel, he says, lizra, you can do it. You can plant hops in the vineyard. It's no problem. Rav Amram Chasida mangid ilave. Interesting. Whereas Rav Amram Chasida would give people lashes if they would plant hops in vineyards. So don't do that in front of Rav Amram Chasida. Rav Misharsha yoav le pruta letinok nachri v'zara le. Whereas Rav Misharsha, he would give a coin to a Gentile child and have this child plant the hops in the vineyard for him, because he held like Rav that you're allowed to plant hops in the vineyard in Chutz La'aretz, and therefore he would just kind of, instead of doing it himself, he would have this Gentile child do it for him. V'litein le litinok Yisrael. Why do you have to give it to a Gentile child? Give it to a Jewish child. So asi lemisrach. Well, because then the child, when he gets older, he might do the same thing. V'litein le legadol. And why don't you give it to a non-Jewish adult? Right, legadol nachri. Asi leachlufe b'Yisrael. Well, because if you give it to a non-Jewish adult, you might end up giving it to a Jewish adult. And as Rashi points out in the last Rashi on the page, he says, Kasav b'chutz la'aretz shari, because Rashi says, look, in Chutz La'aretz you're allowed to plant these hops in the vineyard. Umiu, however, kol kama de'efshar mishane shelo yumdu lehakel. But as much as you can make a shinoi, better to do it that way so that people don't generally be lenient. And therefore, he said, even though you're allowed to plant these hops in the vineyard, if you can do it differently, so then do it differently. So that's why you would give it to a Gentile child, so that you won't end up doing it yourself, and there will be a shinoi. Mace, what about when it comes to burying somebody who passed away on Yom Tov? Shalach lehu mace lo yisasku be lo yudan v'lo aramayin. And sure enough, Reb Menashe, for the third straight time, is being very strict, and he's saying, if you have a mace on Yom Tov, you may not bury him. Not Jews may not bury this mace, nor can non-Jews bury this mace. Lo b'Yom Tov Rishon v'lo b'Yom Tov Sheni. Not on the first day of Yom Tov, not on the second day of Yom Tov, right? Not on the first day of Yom Tov, which is Midoraisa, not on the second day of Yom Tov, which is Midarabanan, right? Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galios. Ini, but is this really true? V'amar Rabbi Yehuda bar Shilas, Amar Rabbi Asi, Uvda hava bevei knishta demon. But says Rabbi Yehuda bar Shilas in the name of Rabbi Asi that there was a story that happened in the base in the synagogue in Ma'on, b'yom tov asamuch l'Shabbos, and it was a festival, it was a Yom Tov that was right next to Shabbos. Although Rabbi Asi admits that he's not sure if this Yom Tov was on a Friday and Shabbos was coming after that, or if it was on a Shabbos, or if Yom Tov was on a Sunday and the day before was Shabbos. Meaning, the point is that right now it's Yom Tov and there is a mace. Now, we're not sure if basically it was the first day of Yom Tov, and we're saying, well, we're not sure if it was Yom Tov on Friday, and if they don't bury the mace on Yom Tov, well then they're not going to be able to bury the mace on Shabbos either, and they're going to have to wait until Sunday. Or, and there's no way, and the mace was going to there's no way to refrigerate the mace, and so there was going to become a problem. Or if Yom Tov was on Sunday, and this person passed away on Shabbos, and it's already day 2, and they want to know, what can we do? So they asked Rabbi Yochanan, and he said to them, he says, look, you should have non-Jewish people bury the mace, because Amir La'akum is only derabanan anyways, and in a place of kavod habrios, such as not to leave out this mace unburied in a disgraceful way. So as we know, Gadol kavod habrios shedocha lo saisa shebatorah, that kavod habrios is so great that it kind of pushes off the lo ta'aseh of lo tasur that we've seen a few times, that whenever there's kavod habrios, the chachamim do not make their gzeras, and therefore you would be allowed to instruct a non-Jew to bury this mace in the interest of kavod habrios. V'amar Rav, and said Rav, mace b'yom tov rishon, if you have somebody who passes away on if you have a mace b'yom tov rishon, so Rashi learns that, for example, if you have Yom Tov on a Sunday, and you have a person who passed away on Shabbos, and now it's Sunday and it's Yom Tov. So he says, Yis'asku bo amamin. So, Yom Tov is midoraisa today. It's not Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galios, it's midoraisa. Therefore, you shouldn't have Yidden burying this corpse, because it's Yom Tov. However, they can instruct they can ask a non-Jew to bury this mace, because it's only a mir la'akum, which is midorabanan, and as we said, out of kavod habrios would be allowed. Yom Tov Sheni, but if it's the second day of Yom Tov, which is midirabanan, Yom Tov Sheni Shel Galios, so the whole day of Yom Tov Bichlal is only midirabanan, so in the interest of kavod habrios, even Yidden can bury this mace. Yis'asku bo Yisrael. V'afilu b'Yom Tov Sheni Shel Rosh Hashanah, and even if it's the second day of Rosh Hashanah, then in general, Rosh Hashanah, we treat the second day of Rosh Hashanah more strict than we do treat the second day of Yom Tov in general. Masha ein kein bebeitza, right, which is not the case when it comes to a egg. That meaning, apparently when it comes to an egg, if you have a egg born, I guess, on the first day of Yom Tov, you'd be able to eat it on the second day of Yom Tov, but that's not the case on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. We're more machmir. However, when it comes to this mace, even if it's the second day of Rosh Hashanah, still the Yidden would be able to bury this mace, since in the interest of kavod habrios, we wouldn't have this gezerah derabanan, right? You can be docha the derabanan, you can bury this mace. No, so if that's the case, then why was Rav Menashe saying that you would be completely unable to bury this mace, not a Yid, not a Gentile, not the first day of Yom Tov, not the second day of Yom Tov? So the Fisheinim B'nai Torah, again, Rav Menashe was concerned that these people aren't very learned, and therefore he didn't want them to think that anything is allowed. Interesting. Okay? Amar Bi Avin bar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Chama bar Guria, Misatev Adam Bechila Uvikas Kasea V'yotze l'Rishus HaRabim b'Shabbos ve'eno choshesh. Interesting. A person is allowed to wrap himself in this canopy cloth and with its straps, right? So the canopy has these straps that you use to fasten it to to these poles that you're fastening it to. V'yotze l'Rishus HaRabim b'Shabbos, and you can go out wrapped up in this canopy to Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos. Ve'eno choshesh. There's nothing to be concerned about, even though there are these straps, and you can be concerned. Well, these straps might be considered a masui. They might be considered a burden. Might be carrying them. No, don't worry about it. But one second, why should wearing this canopy with the straps be completely permitted? Why is that different than Rav Huna? That somebody who goes out with a talis that doesn't have proper tzitzis on it. Like let's say, I don't know, you have a talis and you only have tzitzis on 3 of the corners, let's say. So, chayiv chatas. So you chayiv a korban chatas for carrying the tzitzis, because the tzitzis, since you don't have it tied properly, so it's like you're carrying them. It's a masoi, so why should these straps be any different? Well, it's different. Tzitzis are made of tcheles. Tcheles is fancy, and therefore they are not batel to the talis, and therefore it's like you're carrying them. But here, these straps are really not very important, and they're batel to the canopy, and therefore, since you're wrapped up in the canopy, it's considered like a garment, and you are going to be pater. Fine. It sounds like you might even be l'maisa mutter, right? Because it says mis'atei fa'adam b'chilei, he can mamish wrap himself in it. Okay. Rabbi Avin bar Rav Huna. So the Gemara says Rabbi Abba bar Rav Huna, but the Hagor Sabach changes it to Rabbi Avin bar Rav Huna, probably to be consistent with the previous statement of the Gemara. Okay. Rabbi Avin bar Rav Huna, Mayrim Adam al Mishameres b'Yom Lizlos barimonim v'soleba shmarim. Okay, so a person is allowed to be tricky on Yom Tiv. Now, even though the Chachamim said in the Mishnah that on Yom Tiv you're not allowed to hang up this sort of strainer in like a jar or a container, so we said that the issue, right, is we established that it's not midoraisa. It's not an issue of building an oil midoraisa. Rather, Abaye said that it's just because of uvdin dechol. We don't want you to be doing things on Shabbos. It's like straining wine in the same exact way that you do it during the week. So, but what you can do is that you can be kind of sneaky. What you can do is you can put the strainer there on the kli, but just not for wine. Put it there for pomegranates. To put pomegranates in it. They don't normally put pomegranates in these strainers in kalim during the week. That's like a weird thing to do, I guess. So, therefore, you can do it on Yom Tov for pomegranates, and it's not uvdin dechol. And then once you did it for pomegranates, then you can pour your wine through there. Problem solved. Amar Rabbi Avin, bar Rav Huna. Mayrim Adam al Mishameres b'Yom Tov. So a person is allowed to be tricky when it comes to this strainer on Yom Tov. Lislos barimonim, that he can put it in the kli in order to put pomegranates into it, v'sola bashmarim, and then once already you're putting pomegranates in there, you can then pour in wine. Amar Rav Ashi v'udatala barimonim. Now Rav Ashi says, but you do have to remember to actually put pomegranates in there. Or you can't just like be like, all right, I'm putting this strainer there for pomegranates, and then just pour wine in there. No, you at least have to like go along with the game for at least maybe just one pomegranate. So the Gemara says, why? How come? Rav Ashi, how come you have to play along? Why not just put the strainer there and immediately pour in wine and just claim that you put it there for pomegranates? So Ma'ishna Miyadid Sanya, why is this any different than the following brayso? Matilin sheichar b'moed l'tzorech hamoed shlo l'tzorech hamoed aser. So we say that you're allowed to prepare beer on Chol HaMoed as long as it's for whatever the holiday is. Let's say it's Chol HaMoed Pesach. Well, that might be more complicated. Let's say it's Chol HaMoed Sukkos. So on Chol HaMoed you'd be allowed to make beer as long as it's for Sukkos. But if it's not for Sukkos, you just want to make it so you'll have beer for after Sukkos, that would not be allowed. Whether this is date beer, whether this is barley beer. Now, here we go, friends. Listen. Now, even though he has beer, he has old beer, and he has beer to drink, so he really doesn't need to be making this beer right now. But he can be tricky and he could say, oh yeah, I need this beer, and he can make beer right now. As long as it's for the Yom Tov, as long as he's going to drink it on Yom Tov. Now I don't know how quick or not quick, I think usually beer takes more than just a few days to make, but whatever it is, the assumption is that you can make this beer right now and drink it. So he'd be allowed to be tricky and saying, oh yeah, I need to make this beer because I'm out of beer, even though he really does have beer. And so we see, and he doesn't have to like pretend at all. He can literally just be like, okay, I need beer, let me make beer. He doesn't have to do anything to like make this ploy true. Doesn't have to like, I don't know, drink up all the old beer. I don't know, whatever it would be. It can just literally say like, oh yeah, I need beer. Let me make beer. So here also, you can just say like, you know, oh yeah, I need this pomegranate strainer and then just pour wine in it. So the Gemara says, no, it's different. When it comes to the beer, the reason why you can just like literally just be like, oh yeah, I need this new beer and make new beer without having to like prove his story at all is because anybody see him making beer will just be like, oh, okay, I guess he's out of beer. He's making more beer. What's the big deal? But when it comes to putting a strainer on a container, people aren't going to be like, oh yeah, he's putting his pomegranates in there. No, he's not. The whole point is that you don't normally put pomegranates in there. So therefore, in order to make the ploy believable, you actually have to put pomegranates in there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do it because it would look like you're just using it for wine. Amrle Rabbanan Rav Ashi, the rabbi said to Rav Ashi, Chazimar Aitzurba me Rabbanan. Rav Ashi, did you see this young whippersnapper, Rav Huna, Rav Chavyon, Rav Chayon Shmei, and his name is Rav Huna, Rav Chayon, Ba'amrila Rav Huna, Rav Chalvan Shmei, the Shakal Brad de Suma, Umanach bebarza Didana, Va'amrila Atznu'e. So, can you imagine the chutzpah? This Rav Huna Reb Chayun, he took a fig, a clove of garlic, and there was a barrel of wine that was leaking. And so what he did was he took a clove of garlic and he stuck it into the place where there was the leak, which is something that you're not allowed to do on Yom Tov, but he just said, oh, I'm doing it because I want to store my garlic over there. And he basically just plugged up the barrel, but he said, oh yeah, he's technically storing his garlic over there. Okay. So I guess the students didn't like that, so they were tattletelling to Rav Ashi about this fellow. And not only that, it gets worse. He went to sleep in a ferry, and then the ferry, obviously he knew that the ferry was traveling from one side of the river to the other side of the river, but that wouldn't be allowed on Yom Tov. You can't just go on a ferry on Yom Tov, but you can sleep on a ferry. So that's exactly what he did. He went to the ferry, he went to sleep, Peri, and then he went to the other side of the river and he took a look at his vineyard. Oh, I was just intending to sleep on the ferry. Oh wow, and it got to the other side. Who knew that was going to happen? So Rav Ashi said, okay, so you're basically saying this guy's been sneaky, right? Meaning, he knows that you're not allowed to plug a barrel, but you're allowed to put away your garlic. He knows you're not allowed to go in a ferry to cross the river, but he knows you're allowed to sleep on a ferry, so he's being tricky. Well, he was only being tricky on something midirabanan, meaning, what's the worst that would have happened? If he mamish crossed the river in a ferry, or he mamish plugged up the barrel, those are both midirabanan. And because he's a Talmid Chacham, because he's a tzur b'me'arabanan, we can assume that he would never just lichatchila cross the river in a ferry in Yom Tov. He would never lichatchila plug up a barrel, and therefore, because he would never come to do these things lichatchila, he can be tricky about it. Interesting. Okay, Masnisa, the Mishnah says, Nosnin mayim agabi ashmarim b'shvil sheyitzolu. You'd be allowed to pour water. So like, let's say you poured wine before Shabbos, you poured wine through a strainer, and now there's all the dregs that are left in the strainer. You'd be allowed to take water, which is clear, and pour it through the strainer and to get all whatever remaining wine there is out of the dregs. And that would be completely fine because you have this water that's starting out clear and it's ending up clear. It's just passing through the strainer in the meantime, but you're not really straining anything out. So you're allowed to pour water through the dregs in a strainer so that the dregs will, any remaining wine will come out of it. And you can also strain wine through like cloths, through clothing, garments, and through this weaved basket made out of palm fronds maybe, or like palm branches, those like things that you can weave with from the palm branches. There's probably a word for that I'm forgetting. I don't know. Palm leaf thingies? Reeds? You can put an egg through a mustard strainer. That would be acceptable. V'osin inomlin b'Shabbos. You can make this interesting inomlin that we're going to learn about in the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'Shabbos b'choz b'Yom Tov b'lagun v'moed b'chavis. On Shabbos you can make this inomlin in a cup. On Yom Tov you can make it in a log measure, and Chol HaMoed you can make it even in a barrel. We're just concerned that we don't want you exerting too much effort to make this drink. So therefore we limit how much you can make it based on Shabbos, Yom Tov, and Chol HaMoed. Reb Tzadok Omer, Hakol Lefi HaOrchen. Reb Tzadok says that it's just based on how many guests you have. You can make enough for your guests. Fine. Now Reb Tzadok, very interesting, we're now in the 3 weeks. Reb Tzadok, it says in the Gemara in Gittin, it says that Reb Tzadok fasted for 40 years so that the Beis HaMikdash should not be destroyed. Another interesting about Tzadok, that our friend Adam Friedman, who often provides us with imagery from the Koran Gemaras, if I'm not mistaken, his Hebrew name is Azriel Tzadok. Maybe Adam Friedman can confirm or deny that for us. But this might be true. Says the Gemara, Omer Zeiri, Nosin Adam Yain Salul Umayim Tzulun Socham Shemeres B'Shabbos Ve'eno Choshesh. So Zeiri says that a person can put clear wine. So apparently there are 3 kinds of wines. There's clear wine. There's wine that has like pieces in it, impediments in it, but they're drinkable, these pieces. And then there's wine that like mamish has lots of like junk in there, and that you really have to strain out. So we're saying Nosin Adam Yain Salul Umayim Tzlulin Socham Shemeres B'Shabbos. So a person can put clear wine and clear water through a strainer on Shabbos. Ve'enu choshesh, there's no problem. Aval achurin lo. But don't put sort of this wine that has impediments that are technically drinkable, but don't pour those through a strainer on Shabbos, because it'll be considered making the wine better by pouring it through the strainer and removing whatever these technically drinkable impediments are. B'meisvei, 1 second, we have a kasher of Shimon Gamliel Omer, Tored Adam Chavis Shal Yain, Yena Ushmara. A person can mix a barrel of wine, its wine and its dregs, v'nosein socha, or its impediments, v'nosein the socha mishameres b'Shabbos, and you can pour it through a strainer on Shabbos. Ve'eno choshesh, it's no problem. So 1 second. On the one hand, we have Zeiri, who's saying that if this wine has impediments in it, I think impediments is the word. Let's just pretend it is for now. So you can, this wine with the impediments, you're not allowed to pour it through a strainer on Shabbos because it'll be making the wine better. Yet Reb Shimon Gamliel seems to be saying that you're allowed to pour this wine with these impediments in it on through this strainer, and it's no problem. Tergum Zeiri ben Agitos Shanu. So Zeiri says, yeah, it's no problem. When Reb Shimon Gamliel is saying that you would be allowed to pour this wine with the impediments through the strainer on Shabbos, that is when it was among the barrels. When you're in the barrels in the wine press, so people, it's more common to drink the wine with these impediments in it. Therefore, if you want to strain it, it's not necessarily making it better, because you would have drinking it without straining it also. But in general, if it has these impediments in it, it would be preferable to strain it, and therefore that would be a problem on Shabbos. We said that you'd be allowed to strain wine through these like garments. As long as you don't make some kind of like a cup out of the garment, kind of like make like a pouch in it for you to pour the wine through that would be a problem, because that's like how you do it during the week. Fine. You could put it in this like basket that with these like palm like leaves. Okay, so if you have this like palm reed basket and you want to strain wine through it, so obviously you're going to have this palm reed basket inside of a larger kli, and you're going to strain the water through this palm reed basket, and it'll go into a larger kli. So Rav Chia bar Ashi is saying in the name of Rav that you don't want this palm reed basket to be more than 1 tefach above the bottom of the kli that the wine is going into, because we're concerned about making it an oil. Okay? Because if it's more than a tefachai, then it'll be an oil. Amar Rav Hypronka apalge duchu v'shari. If you take some kind of a cloth and you cover half of the barrel, of the opening of the barrel with this cloth, that's permitted, akule kuva asur, but to completely cover the barrel would be a problem because you'll be making an ohel. Amar papilo nihadek inish sinyasa befume de chuzne de chavisa mishum demerse kimishameres. Basically, you'd have wine in a barrel, and then there would be some little like pitcher next to the barrel. Then you would take the wine from the barrel into the pitcher, and then you'd use that pitcher to then pour it into cups. So once the wine is in the pitcher, don't take like twigs and all sorts of things and stuff up the exit of this pitcher so that all the dregs will be strained out. Don't do that because it's basically like a strainer. Devei Papa sha'afu shichra mimana lemana. And Rav Papa's house now, as Rashi points out, Rav Papa was in the beer business. He was a brewer. And so by Rav Papa, they would pour beer from one vessel to another vessel. Meaning, the point is that Rav Papa would pour beer from one kli to another kli. He wasn't concerned about sorting, of removing the good from the bad, because he's just pouring the beer. And there aren't really dregs. The dregs are on the bottom, and he's just pouring out the clear beer. So to which Rav Acham Yidifti asked Ravina, he said, yeah, but what about once he gets to the bottom and there are dregs over there? So then he's basically pouring out the good stuff and leaving the bad stuff. So the Gemara says, yeah, but actually Rav Papa, since he had so much beer because he was in the beer business, he was a brewer, so once they got down to the bottom where there were dregs already, he would just kind of leave it, and he didn't really care to get every last drop. Interesting. Okay, that was Daf Kuf Lametes of Masechta Shabbos. Let us review what we learned. So at the beginning we had some agadatas of the consequences of corrupt courts and how that brings all sorts of bad stuff to Jerusalem and Israel. Then we had this letter from the people of Bashkar to Levi. Levi then passed away in the interim. So Shmuel assigned Rav Menashe to answer these letters, and Rav Menashe was very strict on all three cases. The first case being making a canopy on Shabbos, and he said, we looked into the matter and it's impossible to use a canopy on Shabbos. The question is, what do you mean? What about Rabbi Bar Yecheskel says that if it's rolled before Shabbos, just unroll it? He said, no, they're not b'nei Torah, therefore we don't want to take any chances. Interesting. Then we talked about hops in a vineyard. He said, again, you're not allowed to, it would be kilayim. What do you mean? But what about Reb Tarfon, who says that it's not kilayim? And this isn't chutzlarts, and whatever, you can go by the more makel opinion in chutzlarts. Again, he said, we don't trust the people, because they're not b'nei Torah. Now, when it came to planting hops in a vineyard in chutzlarts, we said that Rav said it's completely mutter. Rav Abram Chasida would give lashes for it, which means that obviously he considered it to be a problem. Rav Misharsha, he said that it was mutter like Rav, but he would still want to make a shinu if he can, so he would give a coin to like a young Gentile and have him plant the hops in the vineyard for him. Okay? We talked about burying mats on Yom Tov. Oh, mace on Yom Tov, right? And the last of the things in the questions in the letter was, can you bury a mace on a somebody who passed away on Yom Tov? So again, Menashe answered, and he says, no, in no way. Not with the Jew, not with the non-Jew, not first day of Yom Tov, not second day of Yom Tov. But actually, we saw the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, who says that you can have a non-Jew bury the mace, since Yom Tov, since Amir La'akum is only derabanan, and in the place of Kavod Abrios, they would not make the Gezerah. And Rav says that Rava says that on the first day of Yom Tov you can use have a Gentile bury this mace, but on the second day of Yom Tov you can even have a Yid, because Yom Tov Sheni Bichlal is only midrabanan at this day and age, now that we have the fixed calendar. What about? So we had said in the Mishnah that according to Chacham you're not allowed to make a strainer on Yom Tov because it's uvdin dechol. It's like you do it for wine. It's like you do it during the week. So we said, but you'd be allowed to make it for pomegranates and then use it for wine. So according to Rabbi Avin Bar Avuna, it sounds like you wouldn't even have to put any pomegranates in there. You can literally just make the strainer and claim that you're making it for pomegranates, but in the end, just use it for wine, and that would be acceptable. And Rav Ashi says you'd at least have to put in pomegranates and go along with your story for a little bit. We then asked, what about brewing beer on Yom Tov? When we say, it would have to be for Yom Tov, right? But even if you already have beer that was ready from beforehand, you could still, and therefore you don't need this beer for Yom Tov, you could still say, yeah, you need it, and therefore you don't have to play around along with the ploy at all. You can just basically make up the fact that you need this beer even though you don't. So they say, yeah, because when it comes to beer, it's not obvious that you have beer in your cellar. When it comes to this strainer, I mean, the assumption is certainly not by default that you are using it for pomegranates, therefore you have to go along with the ploy. Then we talked about being sneaky about derabanans in general, right? Meaning we had these other stories of this, what was his name? This Rav Huna bar Chayun, that he went to sleep on a boat knowing that it was going to get to the other side of the river. He also stuck this garlic clove into a leaky barrel, and he said he was putting it away. And Rabbi Ashi says, look, Lemaisa, these are din derabanan, and we can assume that he wasn't going to violate them in a completely forbidden way, so therefore it was okay that he was sneaky about it, because he was a Talmud Chacham, which was very interesting. Okay, and then at the end we just talked about sort of pouring clear liquids through strainers, and we said that would be acceptable since it was already clear from the beginning, and that was pretty much where we ended up with things. Everyone, I hope that you enjoyed Daf Kuf Lamed Tes, and hope you have a great day. Peace.